Okay, let's talk for this game. Green Bay, Seattle. Your score. What are your game script on this game?
I think it's a tough game. Like it's a complete toss up to me. I went with 24-20 in favor of Green Bay. They're actually a 2.5-point favorite on the road in this game. I just think that they're the better overall team right now. But both of these teams kind of inconsistent based on how they play.
Right.
I will say Jair Alexander is out, so you siding with the
DK.
the DK does make a little more sense now. But JSN, hell of a call this year on our part. Playing him one of our best calls of the year. Him being, I think, wide receiver 5 overall. He's been very consistent. I think he's had 6 catches in 6 straight games. He's getting the most targets, all that. But the upside is a DK, and if there's any positive touchdown regression, it's coming his way because his price is just dipping down and down, and he's just kind of due.
So my favorite play on the slate. I'm sorry, my game script. I had it at a 3-point game in favor of the Seattle Seahawks. I had it at 27-24. I just think at home, Seattle, they're going to find a way to win. I think it's one of those games with the last person to have the ball wins the game. And I don't think that Green Bay has been overvalued in a lot of lines recently. And I don't know why. And the fact, I actually kind of find it a little bit weird that it's not like a pick 'em or something even closer because Seattle is at home. They have the, that little bit. So I will be picking Seattle 27-24. My must play, Cam took it. It was Zach Charbonnet.
You can always have the same one. It's not like on certain slates, especially like these.
This is not fair. It's
just not a fair price. And he's going to be the most owned guy, and I just don't think you can avoid him today. The only thing that's going to hurt him is if there's an injury, but everybody's going to suffer from, except for the 15 to 20% that fade him.
And I think
it's just not worth that risk.
Yeah,
I'm not going to root for injury on being the only reason that I'm different.
But otherwise, your fade, wanted to see what was your fade.
My fade was Christian Watson, and the main reason was because just when Romeo Doubs is in, all of his snaps are down, his targets are down, and last 2 games he's been above 90% of the snaps. He had a 100-yard game, which we called this past week, but it's just him being the inconsistent guy, and with Romeo Doubs being back, who's been the safest of the targets. It's not like he has the most upside. He just has the floor, and him being 6,600 ownership wise between all of these receivers, Christian's actually, and again, RotoWire doesn't know how to do ownership projections on a Showdown, but he's showing at least as the lowest owned of all the Green Bay receivers minus Dontavian Wicks. So I'm just kind of going to side with that.
Fair enough. I would also like to point out that Jaden Reed is not necessarily a consistent player himself. So there's that. But I'm actually going to be fading JSN. I think you have to pick one of the receivers for Seattle, basically. So if I have to pick one, I picked DK in this situation. So that's why JSN is going to be a guy that I'm not going to be get to. That is a scary fade. It's not a comfortable fade, but it's just the fact that I have to pick one of those guys.
Well, even when I pointed out Cooper Kupp as a fade, and you kind of were on the same boat with the Thursday Showdown, we didn't expect 0 for 0.
Right.
But at the same time, we were just like, you have to pick one of those expensive guys to fade. And to me, if I'm going to fade, or if I'm going to play multiple top receivers versus playing both of the stud running backs that are going to raw points wise going to blow everybody out of the water, I'd rather just force those guys in, which is why both Josh Jacobs and Charbonnet were our top plays.
Right. And then our contrarian plays, my contrarian play is Romeo Doubs because he is going to be getting the targets. He's going to be the most, I think he's the safest highest floor of all the guys. The other guy that is, we haven't said is Tucker Kraft, 5,800, I believe. And that's a solid price too. So both of those guys I think are in play because I think they have a high enough floor without the inconsistencies.
And my contrarian play actually was Noah Fant, which I haven't said his name in a long time, but he suffered an injury and missed a couple games, but he came back 67% of the snaps and then roughly 60 last week in a negative game script against Arizona. 4 targets in both games. He's had the boom games, obviously, before he did get hurt. You see a 63-yard game, a 65-yard game. He's got the 10-point upside, which at 3,600, when you're playing the most snaps, is very interesting to me. But also, I did want to point out Pharaoh Brown being the highest value on the board for RotoWire, but him actually playing, what was it? He's played at least 25% of the snaps in 4 straight games and 6 of the last 7. Last game was his least snaps of any of them, but he had averaged 40% of the snaps in the previous 3 weeks. And I believe he's had a target in multiple of those games. So him being only $400 allows you to get up to 5 targets in 3 games, kind of what you want for basically minimum price guy.
Yeah,
and being able to try to force the 2 expensive running backs, maybe getting a quarterback or 2, and then pairing with some top receivers. That's one of the ways to do it, is getting down low. And him or Jake Bobo, like those kinds of guys, getting the targets. But because of his snap share, that's why I pointed him out.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's start building this lineup. On the our main captain will be Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna play a non-Charbonnet captain.
Yeah. The other guy that I like getting to is Josh Jacobs, because just raw points wise, he makes a lot of sense.
Which quarterback do you prefer?
Jordan Love.
Then let's put Jordan Love in.
Okay.
So
play what?
Just tough. The tough range after this, because you got to get back up to a DK.
Yeah, if you're going to play DK.
Because I don't think I can fade both JSN and DK.
Yeah. Okay. Go cheap. I mean, like I said, you do have the opportunity to get Tucker Kraft. He's an option here, 5,800. And then going down to, say, I don't know, someone down here.
Do you like either kicker in this game?
Yeah. I always like kickers. They've been killing it this year.
So
it's a love-hate relationship.
Well, just playing one of them allows you to fit like a Jake Bobo, who again I just mentioned, but he's had games with multiple targets and stuff. He's played 25% of the snaps essentially over the last 3 weeks, and honestly, Tyler Lockett's role is kind of diminishing by the week. So, wide receiver 3.5 for $1,000.
I'll be honest. I think I'd rather play Chris Brooks.
Okay. Problem is, if you do that, we're playing Jordan Love.
He's 24, so that's tough.
If we're doing Jordan Love, we're not
both running backs. Yeah,
that's the thing that's kind of tough, and why I kind of prefer Geno Smith, just because organically you're able to make
you're going to play either DK or JSN naturally. I'd like to get to 6,600 here, but it's not going to
100 short of
it's not going to be the right range. It's a little tough. But like I said, Tucker Kraft is here. That gives you 1,100. You could throw
But if you
Bobo
want it,
in.
And again, I think the cash way to go in this showdown is going Charbonnet at captain, because he's going to have like north of 25% ownership at captain.
At cap, yeah.
So in that same where we were 100 short, going 600 cheaper at DK, but then flipping him to captain, and you're praying for the upside against Jair, you're able to afford a Pharaoh Brown.
Right.
And again, he's the highest value on the slate, followed by Jay Bobo, who we mentioned. That's just kind of the ways I'm trying to fit the last guy in and make a little bit more sense with this line.
What about, because I did say Chris.
And on top of that, you pick in Seattle, you want a 4-2 build, it's tough.
Just short. Okay. I just wanted to see. Okay, so we're gonna put in then Dobbs and play, say, Pharaoh.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't believe in, no, actually you can't afford him. Never mind. Yeah, we're not playing Watson. Screw that guy. But yeah, I like this. Well, instead of Dobbs as last guy.
Oh yeah.
Because I was thinking you could.
Yeah, he's $200 more. But yeah, I like this line though.
Yeah, and it paints a good picture. 4-2 build, I think, is very fine and viable. That's more towards your gut call with Seattle winning. So I don't mind it at all. I just think it's really hard, even though Jordan Love, not only from a talent perspective, but even from a raw fantasy points perspective, I prefer him. Again, getting for Jordan Love, you got to get multiple like receivers, honestly, from Green Bay to make it comfortable, at least from a narrative perspective. And you can't really do that without fading Josh Jacobs, and I don't love doing that.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think the problem is Josh Jacobs is 11-4. If you didn't play Josh Jacobs, what's his ownership? Just wondering for a real quick reference.
I mean, right now he's showing at 43%, and I don't think that's
too low.
Correct.
Yeah,
because Zach Charbonnet is showing at 55, and he's going to be like 80% of it.
Yeah,
and I know McManus is not going to be 89. So
okay, weird, but yeah. So I'd expect Josh Jacobs to be 60-ish, 65-ish, and so getting off of him is going to be really, really difficult. But I don't think it's impossible. It's just, what are you going to do if you do get off of him? Are you going to play Geno and like Zach and DK, and then try to figure out which. I'd rather not try to figure out which receiver for Green Bay is going to go off.
That's what exactly.
So I get it. But let's stop. All right.
11.
Nice time. Make a wish. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us.